Hey guys, Mali from C-Spot Run. We're going to do another Tuesday live Q&A. Today we actually decided to do a topic based on a post we put on Facebook last week, which was, what's the most difficult thing that you've had to train your dog to do? And I was actually really surprised how many people responded, including myself, that their big problem area is how to control barking and overexcitability when people knock a door. So I thought, why not tackle that subject right now, today, and maybe give you guys some tips to get you going in the right direction with what you need to do to stop a dog from barking and being overexcited while the door is knocked or while the doorbell is ringing. So a couple of things that I would start off doing, if it's a doorbell issue, and it's a type of doorbell that you can disarm or change the tone on, I would really strongly recommend doing that. Sometimes the doorbell is such a strongly conditioned environmental cue that the dog responds to with way too much overexcitability, and that's often where the barking comes from. Or if you've got a fearful little dog that's fearful of strangers coming into the house, then that barking again can be reactivity towards that fearful stranger coming into the house. So ideally what we want to do is change or swap out the sound of the doorbell for a new one or for a different sound and start from scratch. Now if it's not a doorbell that your dog is barking in response to, and maybe it's the sound of a doorknob, the first thing I do is I set up a sign like this one and I put it on the front door, and it just simply says, please don't knock, dog training in progress, and I encourage people to phone my mobile number instead if they need assistance at the door. Like let's say it's a delivery person, they want to drop off a package. I would much rather have them phone me on my phone number if I wasn't quite ready or prepared with my dog to do a training session. So that's something that you guys can really easily do to get on the right foot with training your dog not to bark. Now, the actual training procedure. What we love to do is we really love to heavily reward the dog for a behavior that's just not compatible with barking. And for me, it's a really nice settle behavior with a hand signal that just indicates to the dog, calm. And I usually do it to the word settle or something like that. And before I actually have a real person behind the door, I like to create the condition that somebody's behind the door and what I expect my dog to do in exchange for getting some sort of high value reward. Now, today I'm going to demonstrate on little Falky. And hey Falky, do you want to say hi? Want to say hi? So Falky is a very noisy barker normally when the door gets knocked. She gets really, really excited about what's going to happen next. And so what I'm going to try to show with Falky is how to teach her to actually become non-responsive or less responsive when she hears the doorbell knock. Now, some of you who have really, really overexcited dogs, you may want to train your dog on the leash for the first few training sessions so the dog's not having opportunities to rush the door and get away from you. I also like to find a spot a little bit back from the doorway to train the dog to be settled at so that they're not too close to the action, what's going on, and I get them to kind of hold position in that spot. That also helps if you've got issues with dogs jumping up on people coming into the house as well. So I've got my treat pouch with some really tasty, soft, meaty food treats. I think today I've got some cooked chicken breast and some chopped up Devon. There might be some other goodies in that mixture as well, I don't know. But Falky is really keen for most food treats, so I'm going to work with that. Falky. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to give Falky the cue, settle. Good. And when I feel like she's showing me a nice, quiet, settled behavior, I'm going to mark it with her conditioned reinforcer, which is good, and then quickly follow with a food treat. I'm going to put the food treats behind my back because I feel like she's a little bit too fixated on them and not paying attention to what I'm saying. Falky, settle. Good. We repeat this several times in a row. Settle. Good. Settle. Good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to introduce the door knock sound All right, so I'm going to tell Falky what I'm looking for. Falky, yeah, I think that's the tree hand. Settle. Good. And I'm rewarding her for staying settled and calm, even though I'm making that door knock sound. So I'm kind of showing her what my expectations are now for a new behavior when she hears that sound. Falky, settle. Good. Well done. Falky, settle. Now, it's pretty obvious to Falky that I'm not a stranger at the door. I'm not overly exciting. I'm just Mali, and we're doing a training session, and she's seeing me knock the door. It's pretty clear. But that's kind of what I need to do with Falky to show her what my expectations are, even for when somebody unfamiliar to her knocks at the door. And sometimes good dog training is about taking a really complex situation and breaking it down into really easy to achieve steps that the dog can really easily identify and perform well for. So it's all about teaching Falky to be successful in these situations and not allowing her to go back and rehearse old bad behavior patterns like hearing the dog at a door and getting overexcited with her barking. I want to try something here with Falky right now at this stage of the training, which is to make that door knock sound and see what she actually does. Does she bark or does she stay quiet? So let's give it a go before I tell her to settle. Good. So I'm rewarding the absence of a behavior in a way. I'm teaching her don't bark and hey, something good is in it for you. Good. Well done. Settle. Good girl. Well done. So carrying on from that, obviously this is kindergarten level or level 1 for Falky, and where I would take it after several short but sweet training sessions, just showing what that outcome can have for her, is I'd take it to the next level, which is beg, borrow, or steal a friend or family member to actually position themselves on the other side of the door. I'd still continue with Falky just like I am here, but rather than me being the one to create that knocking sound or create the doorbell sound, I would actually be prompting that other person to do it as well, and we simply work through that level as well. One of the things that I really like doing, even just with my own dog, is every single time my husband was coming home from work, I'd ask him to give me a call when he was, say, 5 minutes away, to just give me that warning, like, hey, I'm coming home from work, I'm about to come to the front door, get Mitzi ready. Mitzi's my noisy doorbell of a dog. Get Mitzi ready and I'll knock the door for you. And it really worked quite well, so that I was able to get Mitzi on the lead, get my food treats ready, communicate to her what my expectations were, and when she did hear that door knock sound out of the blue, she was well and truly prepared for what was to happen next, which is to be settled and calm while hearing that door knocking. And it really does work quite well. One thing I just wanted to mention as well is that, dogs bark at the door because they're letting us know that somebody's there. They are like little doorbells to a certain extent, and I've worked with a lot of clients over the years who've said to me they don't necessarily want the dog to completely stop barking, but they want the dog to tone it down a few notches. And what I did with Mitzi as well is, if somebody came to the door and she barked, I could remind her, just with the cue, settle, and she would very quickly stop barking. It was almost like my way of saying to Mitzi, hey, thanks for letting me know somebody's there. I got this. You don't need to carry on barking and barking and barking and jumping up the doorway. So even though she let out the initial bark to say, hey, Mum, somebody's at the door in case you didn't know, I was able to gain better control over her behavior going forward so that it wasn't a chaotic mess, with the dog and somebody coming through the front door. So it was a lot more calm and controlled. So anyways, hopefully those few tips help you guys. As always though, if you're struggling with anything, best to call a reward-based positive trainer who uses similar techniques to what I've tried to show you today to get some one-on-one help. But it is one of those behavior problems that's actually really quite easy to fix, and once you get things going, I think you'll be really happy with the results. Thanks guys, and we'll see you again next week.